So I figured this would be the best way to launch my new YouTube channel. It's something that's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be some crazy times. It's going to be quite a mountain to climb. And most people will say that it could be impossible, but I'm going to do it anyways. So a couple of years ago, after post-pandemic, I'm sitting in my business and I've been self-employed for 28 years. Really cool and very grateful to be able to work at something for 28 years that I'm passionate about. And I realized that most people just don't get to do that. They don't have that opportunity. We all have opportunities, but I worked really hard, just like anyone that's had a business for that long. But to be able to work at something that you're so passionate about, even though it's hard sometimes, it's still work. It's something you're forever grateful for. But that being said, it was a tough time going through the pandemic, like most small business owners and small businesses. But it's not just the owners, the employees and all the people that really worked extra hard to help build up those businesses. But it was definitely eye-opening when we were all shut down for that period of time, and especially in my industry, which involves people coming in, and you didn't have that anymore. And something really clicked in my head, and basically it was like, you got to survive. You either survive or you die. You sink as a business. And I really got into a different aspect of what I've been doing for so long. Now, I've been a martial arts instructor and a successful school owner for a long time. And I've met so many different types of people, from little three-year-olds to 75-year-olds, all types of people that have been through all different types of things. And you learn how to deal with these people. You learn how to deal with what they're looking for to help build their own lives up. And I think anyone that's a good teacher at anything, it doesn't have to be martial arts, but I think they really do have that inside them where they just want to help people. And I've known that about myself for many years, decades, that I just love helping people. And post-pandemic, I had like a business view of everything. And what I mean by that is I was watching these businesses go down. And these are the same kinds of people like me that are thinking about this stuff late at night. How am I going to help my business? How am I going to grow? How am I going to succeed? How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to take care of my people? And all of those things. And then the pandemic hits, and then basically it's out of their control. So it wasn't how hard you worked anymore. And so, but I made it through, my team made it through, my business made it through, my students made it through, and so many other people did as well. But I did feel really bad for a lot of these passionate business owners that saw their dream go down, up in flames, so to speak. And also all the people that were involved with that business, and even the customers. And I really started getting into, what does it take to build something that is that resilient to whatever comes your way? Where there's a will, there's a way, right? And it's just how much are you willing to work and push through it and deal with the pain to get to go from that valley back up to the peak. And I really started studying a lot about just culture and company culture and what it takes to have that type of company, and what business owners and people in leadership roles in their businesses need to be able to overcome great challenges like that, to keep that culture going strong. And only the strong are going to survive. And so it really was a cross between feeling bad for business owners post-pandemic that didn't survive and their passion and how bad that hurts, but it also for the people involved. And so I really started studying a lot about how do we lead people so that we can create this strong environment, this, without sounding like cliche, this culture. And you hear so much about it, and I'll be honest with you, I'll be the first one to tell you that a lot of this theory-based stuff, come on. When you're in the martial arts industry and specifically teaching personal development and realistic self-defense situations, a lot of it is the psychology of it. And what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do to overcome these obstacles? And how can we lead people to build them up? And the pandemic hit, we got through it, and then afterwards, everything else started happening. So for instance, supply chains, you couldn't get supplies. In my industry, we have difficulties, but what about the restaurants and all that? They couldn't even get supplies. And then when they did get supplies, it was so expensive. And then all of a sudden, you force people to change their lives. You have to stay home. You can't go to work. You have to stay home. Your kids can't go to school. So it's like, whoa. At first they were like resisting, and then it was like, I got to learn how to get my kids educated. I got to learn, how do I take care of my kids? I have to work from home. How do I use video and work like that instead of in person? So many different things. And then post-pandemic, all the businesses like, all right, come on back. And they're like, no, I don't want to. I'm good now. I saved a ton of money doing this. I learned how to adapt to that. I learned all of this stuff. And then, so the business owners, when they saw all of the light, they're like, oh, crap, I can't even get people to come back. And I may be overgeneralizing sometimes, but for the most part, that's what I was seeing. And it was like all of a sudden autonomy, which is one of the three major motivators when it comes to your team and your employees and your workers. Autonomy, freedom. They wanted the freedom. They didn't want to go back. They wanted the freedom to work from home or dress from the waist up and be in pajamas from the waist down. Whatever it is, they wanted that freedom that they felt more than ever. And businesses now, they were dying just as much. They couldn't get workers. And you hear it all the time now. People will tell me all the time, they'll say, oh, nobody wants to work anymore. Oh, people are lazy. They don't want to work. And that may be true for some people. But for the most part, to get that motivation, the motivation is within them. As a business owner or leader, you don't create motivate. You don't motivate people to come work for you. You have to somehow pull the motivation that's already within them. So what I call, you got to become a magnet. You got to, instead of searching for people, why not create something that draws them in, that literally attracts them? So instead of always, I can't find good employees, I can't find anyone that wants to work anymore, I pay them a lot of money. And you're finding out real quick that it's not always about the money. Nowadays, more than ever, it's about alignment. It's about the purpose. It's about the values of your company. What does it stand for? Because if it's always based on more pay, more bonuses, more this, sure, people like that stuff. But I'll tell you, most people will tell you if their job really, their environment sucks and it's, they go to work, they hate going there. Yeah, sure, they like the compensation to pay the bills, and everyone needs to do that. If they really don't like it, they're going to look for somewhere else. And whether they hate their boss or their immediate boss, they're going to hate the company. If the boss is bad and not treating the people good, they're going to hate the company for not getting rid of that boss. And they will do it, and they'll take a cut in pay in order to leave. They say nowadays there's the average 7 employments on a resume, and back in the old days, that was like, whoa, that was a red flag. These people are going to bail. So why bother hire them? But nowadays, that's what people are looking for. They're looking for a place that they're not just making a living, and this is something I heard, and it's profound. They're not just trying to make a living, they're trying to make a life. And if your environment, if your company doesn't have that culture that helps grow them in their own career and develop them and support them and treat them with respect, and say that this is what our company's purpose is and this is what we stand for. If they don't align with that, they're gone. They're out of there. And you're going to find yourself constantly looking for people. And you see it a lot in some of these jobs, whether it's a restaurant work or what have you, warehouse jobs that require a lot of manual labor. And if people, they'll do manual labor, but if they're not respected doing it, they're out of there. And they'll base everything on how much the compensation is. And I have found firsthand, having an incredible team working for me that offers me the freedom to do things that, like working with other business owners and so forth. They're not there for just the pay. Yeah, sure, they got to support themselves, but they're there for what we do for our clients, for our people, our family, as we call it at our school. They're there because they have that purpose. They know what it's done for them. They align with it, and they want to keep offering it to other people. It makes them feel good. And I feel that too many people just don't feel great about their job and what their job does. So a couple of years, I had this team meeting, and with my team of workers at my business, and I said, look, at full immunity. You can say whatever you want. I won't hold it against you, but describe me as your boss. And there's nothing wrong with saying boss. Come on, guys. People that are like, oh, you shouldn't call him boss. It's not, we work together. I get all that. But you know what? If somebody has authority over you in the company, that's your boss. Now, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. If they treat you good, you'll hear people say, I love my boss. If they treat you bad, they say, oh, my boss is a boss hole. A boss is not a bad thing. A boss is just, that's the person that you are working under. You may not work for them, you're working for them, but you're working for the company and what the company does. But anyways, a couple of years ago, I had a meeting and I said, look at guys, describe me as your boss in one word. I'm saying to myself, I'm a pretty passionate guy in what I'm doing. I'm very articulate, meticulous about everything we do, somewhat of a perfectionist. So what are they gonna come up with? And they, after a few minutes, they looked at me and they said, you're cool. And I'm like, I'm cool? What do you mean I'm cool? I don't go partying with my people. I don't have to do that. And in fact, I just treat them good every day. Not just on the weekends when it's happy hour or even those team building days and exercise. Yeah, it's all good, but how long does that last? Sure, after the weekend's over, it's back to pushing and shoving and desperation and screaming and yelling and micromanaging and putting out fires. And if that's the case, it's just fake. It's not genuine. So they said, you're cool. And I said, why do you say I'm cool? They said, you're passionate about what you do. You believe in what you do. You care about us. You help grow us. And you support us. And that's why you're cool. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And I would get cards after that on my birthday and the holidays, and they say, you're the coolest boss ever. And I said, wow, that's something really cool. Imagine if everybody, all employees, all workers felt that way about their company or their boss or their leader, that they were the coolest boss ever. Not because of what they drive, not because of their house, not because of all the cool traveling or whatever they may do. It's none of that. Because quite honestly, people don't give a crap about all of that if you're not treating them good. You got to treat them good. And with a lot of turnover these days, it's not uncommon to get people that will be awesome technicians at their work and then they get thrust into a leadership position. But doesn't mean they're a good leader. It doesn't mean they have those skills. Look, I deal with so many children over the years, tens of thousands of children that I've helped develop, and mentally and physically. And I'll tell you what, every single parent that walks through my school, our school, I guarantee they love their kids to death, every single one of them. But it doesn't mean they're great at parenting. Parenting is a skill. It's a strategies. A lot of times we just do it the way our parents did it to us. That could be good, it could be not so good. But either way, like any skill, you can learn, and that's what it takes for leadership. You have to learn how to be a good leader. It starts with a good purpose, a good heart, good values. And then you find people, you attract people that are gonna share those same values and purpose and service. And then that gets around and say, wow, I love my job, I love my boss. And they start talking, and then you find that it's not so hard to find the awesome high performing employees that you may be looking for. So the coolest boss ever, I said, that is awesome. I want to help more business owners, because I feel bad because they might be great people outside of work, but in work they're micromanaging, which is probably the biggest complaint out of anything coming from employees. Micromanaging, well, you might as well just say, if you micromanage your people because you want things done right, either A, you hired the wrong person, or B, the training isn't what it should be. Because if you're micromanaging, you're literally telling them, I don't trust you. And we all know in any relationship, if there's no trust, it's done, it's over. And then at that point, an employee is just gonna be working for the paycheck. And when a bigger paycheck comes from someone else, they're gone. And what's that gonna cost the business? Now they gotta train new people. They gotta take people that are good at what they do. They gotta put them on, help them train other people. And that costs even more money and performance. Everything's gonna go down until it builds up. And if the leadership isn't good, it's gonna keep going back and forth. The constant hamster wheel of trying to find people and train them. And just when they get good or whatever, they're just gonna leave. So the coolest boss ever, I started consulting some businesses that I knew were good business owners and business leaders, and teaching them communication. How do you communicate? Communication, listening, all of those things, growth and development. Give them a path, let them see everybody wants to feel competence. They want to feel that they're growing. And if they're not, if it's the same thing day in, day out, come on. Are you gonna get the best high performing team if that's the way? They're just punching a time card. And we all know what that's about. They're just punching a time card. You want them loving what they do. And if they love what they do, customers first. Is that really true? Sure, you want your customers to get the best service or product, but if your people, your team isn't in love with what your business does, then the clients are going to get it anyways. So it's not about, I don't believe it's about the customer first. It's got to be your team first, and then they will put the customer first, and then everybody's happy and the business grows and the employees grow, and that's the power of being one of the coolest bosses ever. So I started doing a lot of that consulting, and because it's about emotional intelligence and reading people and knowing how to deal with different types of people and not disrespecting them, not undermining them, but asking them questions so they can develop their own independence, so you don't have to be there all day. Our school now is growing. It's bigger than it's ever been, and it's an incredible thing. And I'm not there a lot in person, but I'm there, and I say this in spirit, but it's not me, it's the company's values, it's the company's purpose, it's the company's mission, what we want to do for our community. And so I don't have to be there. I don't have to micromanage. Now, of course, you're always tracking to make sure nothing gets complacent and nothing's going down, because we're all human, and nobody's going to be as passionate as the one on top about your company. So you have to lead by example. There's actually what I feel is 15 of the most impactful types of leadership that you need to create a good effective leadership style for your business. So the coolest boss ever was all about building up and saying, look at companies, business owners, business leaders, let's step it up. Let's not just make it all about the company. Let's care more about our people. Then they will take care of you and the company. And then everybody will take care of the client. And then everybody's happy. Isn't that about being the coolest boss ever? Isn't that what it's about? And I believe I'm living it. And a lot of people I know are living it. And there's a lot of friends that I know are great business owners in terms of they're passionate, they work hard and all that, but not so great at being leaders. And they're the same ones that I can't find anyone. Learn how to be the coolest boss ever. Create that culture that, look at, your team is number one. How am I going to do that? Learn the leadership skills that are necessary, okay? And then you can become a coolest boss ever. So let me build a movement. Let me build this, so let's create more awareness. And I know people are going to get into this because everyone wants to be treated. Everyone wants to feel competent. Everyone wants to relate to the culture and the other people they're working with. And everybody wants the freedom to do their best, and not necessarily the exact same way everyone is supposed to do it. As long as you get that outcome, as long as you, I always say, give them the whole road. There's guardrails, but give them the whole road. You don't have to make sure they stay exactly between the lines. And then that freedom will allow them to be more innovative. And possibly you're going to find people involved in your team that you never knew had ideas and had talents that you never would have knew existed with a fixed mindset and all those biases and limited beliefs that you may have and you may have acquired over the years as a business owner or business leader. Because I know if you're the one on the top, or you built your company, or you're the CEO, you're the one that's thinking about it more than anybody at the end of the day. All right? Especially if it's your baby, right? So the coolest boss ever, I'm creating a movement for that. And the way I do that is, if you believe that bosses, companies, and people, the workers, the employees, if you believe they should grow together in a business, then you believe in the coolest boss ever movement, because that's what it's about. And you might think that it's common, but it's so uncommon. And in fact, and I will share with you as time goes on, the customer service in so many businesses is just so bad in so many ways, in so many different ways. And it's refreshing when you find a business where you walk in or you interact with them and they're like, it's wow, that's awesome. Why can't more businesses be like that? And they can, but they're not. And why aren't they? Whether it's the lack of skills or maybe it's all about the money and the profits, but that won't last. It won't last. You need people to help more people. So the Coolest Boss Ever movement was born. Now, as I started and kept pushing that and doing some workshops, and I got one coming up soon that I'm really excited about, I got an idea, and this is where many people say, look at Rich, it's impossible. Come on, what do you think? And what is your vision? I know. Most people might say it's impossible to take on big companies in the industry that I'm launching into. But you know what? I'm gonna do it anyways because I'm gonna do it for the people. I'm not gonna do it for just about quantity. I wanna do it for quality. And if and when this catches on and bosses say, look it, I'm losing out to these other companies because their cultures are just so much better than ours. It doesn't, or I can't afford that kind of payroll. You shouldn't have to. Then they will be forced to step it up, and it'll be better for them in the long run, but it will also be much better for the employees. I said, you know what? A lot of people say, and quick story, my daughter was always looking for jobs just out of college, really good student. And there were so many opportunities. And when it'd be like, why don't you just try that one? Why don't you just try that one? Why don't you just try that one? Get your foot in the door, work like the old days. Be loyal, work for the company. Maybe self-employed is less risky than working for someone else these days. You never know. But either way, she would say she's into marketing and she's into business. She was a business major but I don't like that industry. Even though I'm in marketing, I gotta love what I'm marketing. And it does make sense. And that's just the way people are feeling these days. It makes sense. How can you do your best if you don't love it? And I said, it's not just about finding a job anymore. It's finding a company, a business that you want to work for because you align with it. You're like, whoa, I love what they do. I love the vibe I get from them. And I can just tell you, and that's where this big freaking mountain of a vision that I have has come. And basically what I am doing is I am launching a new platform that it will be called, or is called, findacoolboss.com. Not find a cool job, it's find a cool boss. And that boss could be substituted for company, but findacoolboss.com. Hey, I'm looking for work. Your friend says, I'm looking for work. You go, look it, you want to find a cool boss? They're like, hell yeah, I want a cool boss. Because they know, even though the company is paying them well or whatever, if the boss sucks, if the culture sucks, if it's toxic, it's hell. And we got to do this work thing for a long time. And it's not, I don't think it's right. I want people to have as much joy and be as grateful as I am to be able to do what I've done for the last 30 years, teaching and helping people, but it didn't fall in my lap. I had to earn it. 30 years of earning it and falling down and getting back up. So Find a Cool Boss is launching, and they're telling me my software engineers are telling me it'll be 3 or 4 months, and this is gonna launch. And I'm going against the big boys. But you know what? With people that relate to me and feel that what I am doing for them, for everybody, is going to help their lives and everybody around them, it's the power of the people. Not the power of the company or the powers that be up there. It's the power of the people. And when people start demanding good leadership. Now, that being said, good leadership will create and help nurture good workers. There's people out there that just don't want to work no matter what. And I get that. And so I'm not like blowing unicorns and daisies and stuff like that. I get that. But you know what? A lot of times I find when it's poor service in a company, it's usually more about not hiring the right person that is aligned with what your company does or offers, or it's a lack of good training. And then of course, a lack of growth and development within that company. Everybody needs to feel that. Everybody has that inside. People with no money still have dignity. When you give them that opportunity, you got to make it. You got to make your opportunities will come to you, but you got to take advantage of them. The law of attraction. Yes, when you focus on something, it will start bringing in ideas and opportunities that you normally wouldn't have thought of until you started focusing on it. The law of attraction. But what the movie and a lot of people forget about is that it just gives you opportunities. If you don't take action and manifest it for real, it's never going to happen. So you can pray and wish and hope all you want. It's not. But when you focus on what you want, and don't worry about the how, just focus on what you want, the how will come to you. Little by little, maybe a lot at once, and that will build your confidence, which will motivate you to keep driving. You people are going to drive me. And in fact, I'm sharing this, and I'm going to be sharing these videos. I want to share this journey, because when this thing blows up in a good way, 3-4 months from now, I want you all to know that have held me accountable and supported me on my journey here, that you're a part of it, and in essence helping other people as well. And isn't that what this is all about? Isn't it all about that? How many people can you help? Because when you help other people, not only does it make you feel good, it's the best way to live. And even in the martial arts world, I always tell people it's better to give than it is to receive. That being said, I will see you shortly, and I really hope you join me. I invite you to join me on this journey. And I'm going to count it down. Let's say 4 months from now. Boom, launch time. Be ready. FindACoolBoss.com.